blinding dust a major problem at the Mmabatho Sun 500. Champion Jeremy Davies struck by bad luck yet again as he's sidelined by bearing problems. Toyota continues its domination in the commercial vehicle category. Of the top 10 motorcycles, 5 are 200s. Hopkinson and Spencer finished superbly in their Class 7 VW. The Mmabatho Sun 500, round 6 of the Total GTE Off-Road Championship, got underway in Mafeking last weekend. Among the two-wheelers, production vehicle leaders James Powell and Eddie Hallaby had a good lead in their VW Kanga, but certainly had no intention of snoozing in this event. And staying among the production vehicles, Wilfried Westlau and Dagmar Blankner's familiar Astoria Bakery VW bread van will soon be replaced by the new space frame, due any day.
It will arrive in October, but then it has to be assembled, everything. And I think we will not race it this season. We will race the Beetle this season.
25 points behind the bread van were youngsters Hopkinson and Spencer. Their excellent finish was to give them a much-needed points boost. Leading the 250cc motorcycle category was on Friday. Among the commercial vehicles, Toyota dominated 4 of the top 6 places in the category. Alfred van Vuren and Piet Pelser always do well in their Sasol Toyota Hilux, while Cassie Kutser and Richard Leek also wanted a good result.
Ons ry hierdie voertuig omrede die ander een het ons 'n probleem mee gehad. Ons kon nie betyds die onderdele van Amerika af ons gekry het nie. Maar ek mis hom inteendeel. Maar op die einde van die dag ons Hilux hierdie is baie betroubaar wat maar self uit en uit bewys het.
Class 4 stalwarts Theo Kutser and Ian Wedderburn are usually consistent finishers in their Chevy, and although they shaped well on Friday, retired on Saturday with mechanical problems.
Die nuwe reëls moet jy 4 keer in jou klas wedrenne voltooi. So ek dink op hierdie stadium met ons wat 3 eerste plekke het, het ons 'n goeie kans om in die volgende 3 nog een by te sit en dan klas 4 overall te wen.
The 500cc motorcycle category was expected.
Problem, and that was me out of the race. Unfortunately, how it goes in those races, a lot of luck involved.
Another exciting dice was anticipated amongst the special vehicles. Despite the difference in their cars, the top 2 space frames had exactly the same number of points. Klaus Degener and Jeff Zell are one of the fastest teams around, but an overall win has eluded them so far this year.
So this year, it's not really to win races. Obviously, it's nice to win the race. The real race that I want to win is the Route for Africa. It'd be nice to win this one. But the aim is to finish way up in the points and keep our lead in the championship.
Bringing his new car home to an excellent second quickest overall was Robert Walk in his Rover V8-powered Super Pave Raceco. His Class 9 entry was expected to stir things up amongst the single-seaters. But nothing could catch Richard Schilling and Ashley Thorne, whose Porsche-engined Motortech Raceco easily stayed ahead of everyone. Day 1 saw Ireland home first, followed by the Kawasaki's of Andrew, Cox, Human and Dalton. Schilling and Thorne would be the first off amongst the cars the next morning, with another 5 space frames among the top 8. Saturday morning dawned hot and dry yet again. Competitors had a grueling 508-kilometre race ahead of them. Leaders Schilling and Thorne had the advantage of no dust to impede their progress. For those awaiting the countdown, the biggest problem would be visibility in the hazardous dust. With not even the slightest breeze, competitors would often have to rely on skill and nerve to see them through the race. See what we mean? On terra firma, the Schilling Thorn team was going flat out, unhindered by anything or anyone. Behind them, Degener was at full taps in the BP Chenoweth. Nothing can stop this driver when he's in full flight. Not even a brazen thorn bush or two. Meanwhile, Linton Draper and Mike Pretorius were going like the clappers in their Isuzu, which had been 6th overall on Friday. This vehicle is capable of awesome speeds, and at top speed looks nothing less than frightening. Trouble for the Toyota dealer team Kasi Kutsia and Richard Leake, less than 30 kilometers from the start line. But for Cecil and Michael Fincham's Toyota Land Cruiser, life couldn't be better. They started 11th that morning and went on to finish a respectable 3rd in class at the end of the day. Also doing well were Wilfried Veslau and Dagmar Blankner, whose worst nightmare came true later on when they had 2 punctures in a row.
Yesterday was a luck for me. I had no brakes, so...
Richard Schilling and Ashley Thorne were still holding their lead in the Motortech Raceco. Their progress through the Paputasuana villages excitedly monitored by the local population. In their wake, Degener and Bell were still attempting to close that gap, but their smaller engine BP Chenoweth found it almost impossible. Herman Stallwald and Mossy Mostert were sitting in a healthy 7th position initially in the Stallwald Vervoer Raceco, but mechanical problems retired them midway through the race. Although he was meant to start 2nd, Walk had left only 19th after alternator problems delayed him, but tenacity and V8 power ruled, and it didn't take him long to ease his way through the ranks back to an eventual 2nd position overall. Bad luck had plagued this team throughout the year, and despite a 4th in class on Friday, Arpi Reinecker and Lucas Dreyer battled throughout Saturday to maintain the pace in their Sasol Ford Courier. Some guys have all the luck. Craig Hopkinson and Martin Spencer had such a smooth run in their VW Beetle, they never got out of the car once. Veslau and Blankner were running an experimental gearbox in their Astoria Bakery VW bread van, and so far, so good. Free State pair, Van Vuren and Pelser, were having a trouble-free run, and despite pressure from the rear, would win class and category honours at the end of the day. SCM team Cliff Barker and Mike Redden were to perform as consistently as ever, and they would later cross the finish line 7th overall and 1st in Class 6. As for the locals, the bigger the dice, the better. In an area where drought has brought nothing but suffering this year, the light relief of an off-road race was exactly what was needed. Meanwhile, Super Tires Suzuki rider Willie Ireland was powering his way through the... Back in the leading space frame, the going was still good as Richard Schilling and Ashley Thorne had yet to cite any opposition to their Porsche engine car. At the service area, crews and spectators anxiously awaited their teams. Degener and Bell would be needing more than just the customary refuel. Robbie Walk was going like a rocket, having made up tremendous time since his delayed start that morning. From a deceptively relaxed area, the pits are suddenly transformed into a hive of activity. And while off-road pits wouldn't exactly threaten Mansell and his boys, they're efficient enough in their own way. Many hands reportedly like work, and if there's ever a case of too many cooks spoiling the broth, no one's telling. Out in the bush, Willie Ireland was still on his way to the refuel point, with both he and his Super Tires Suzuki taking strain in the dehydrating conditions. Yamaha, but he'd worked his way up 3 places. Almost there, and leaders Schilling and Thorne weren't about to let anyone even get close to the Motortech Raceco. Degener and Bell were still hanging in there in the BP Chenoweth. All it takes is one puncture to help you lose about 10 minutes, and no doubt they were wishing one on the leaders. Meanwhile, Walk was on their tail, the Super Pave raceco sounding as good as new. He was eventually to come in second overall, but a penalty would drop him down to 5th place. Youngsters Craig Hopkinson and Martin Spencer drove a superb race to be classified 3rd overall and 1st in Class 7 in their Beetle. This is when disaster struck the Lesotho team of Wilfried Veslau and Dagmar Blankner when they had 2 punctures in a row. Botswana team Rashid Noble and Joe Arby drove the Abe's Mitsubishi Pajero home to a well-earned 9th overall and 2nd in class. And away they go. Class 3's regular leaders are Dani and Gallo van der Merwe in their pink Toyota Hilux, and they won their class yet again, taking an 11th overall as well. Winners of last season's Rookie of the Year award, Wade and Grant Perrins, performed well in their HPI Insert Sandmaster, taking the honours for Class 10. The home stretch, and by now Richard Schilling and Ashley Thorne could almost taste that bubbly. For Thorne especially, taking the checkered flag would be one hell of a moment. In 12 years of racing, he's never once won a national event. After 508 kilometers, there can't be a more welcome sight than the finish, especially if you're the winner. That flag, the champagne, the victor's laurels, and a sense of achievement only racing teams could possibly describe. A special moment for Schilling's wife and daughter.
Well, it just feels great. It just feels absolutely fantastic. 12 years, first national win. So, hell, I'm happy. I'm so happy. First he drove like a star. We got lost 3 times, but short distances. And just fantastic. Really super.
And a special moment too for the winning driver and his navigator. It wasn't long before